In this video, I'm going to go over some of the things that you should disclose when selling a house in Texas. Hi, my name is Erica Parker, your local real estate expert based out of Houston, Texas. Today I'm discussing what should be disclosed when selling your home in Texas. Stop me if you've heard this one or even said this one. I want to sell my home, but I don't want any issues. How many times have we heard it or just wanted to say it ourselves? It's the typical cry of homeowners who are eager to sell their home and receive a stack of cash in exchange for their property, but they're probably not ready for what happens next. That's when they find out that if they do not disclose something, they're, in a legal sense, on the hook for any issues that arise post-sale. For many homeowners, listing their primary residence carries with it an obligation to make full disclosure of anything and everything from asbestos in the basement to mice in the attic to cracks in every single foundation wall. And these disclosures have to be made when the seller knows about a problem, not when a buyer stumbles across it after closing. Here are 5 common disclosures required by the state of Texas. First is the seller's disclosure notice. It is required most of the time. There are specific cases in which it's not, such as if you're an executor of a will selling a property, a co-owner selling to other co-owners, or between spouses resulting from a divorce decree or a decree of legal separation. Second is the existing survey, if the seller has one, and a T-47 affidavit stating that the seller hasn't made any changes to the structures on the property since purchasing it. If the seller has made changes, then a lender will likely require a new survey prior to the closing. The person that pays for that new survey is a negotiable term on the purchase contract. 3, if your property was built before 1978, an addendum for seller's disclosure of information about lead-based paint and lead-based paint hazards is required. If the seller is aware of a lead-based paint on the property, it must be disclosed along with any tests that were conducted. If the seller is unaware if there is lead-based paint on the premises, they should mark the disclosure accordingly. Fourth is the addendum for properties subject to mandatory membership in a property owners association, i.e. the disclosure of a homeowners association. This informs the buyer of rules and regulations, covenants and conditions placed on the homeowners within the subdivision. In addition, it will address who pays for the transfer of ownership within the POA's records. Fifth, and finally, a common disclosure outside the city limits of large Texas cities is the notice to a purchaser of real property in a water district, aka a municipal utility district or MUD. The purpose of a MUD is to provide a developer an alternative way to finance infrastructure, such as water, sewer, drainage, and road facilities. Each district has a tax levied on it to help pay back an individual bond. This tax is usually an annual payment based on a percentage of your property's tax-assessed value. Now that I've reviewed the most common disclosures you will need to make in Texas, I want to circle back to the seller's disclosure notice, which is the item that gives sellers the most anxiety. The most important thing to remember when filling out the form is to disclose as much detail as you know to be true, and then rest assured that you are protected from future liability. Such items you will be asked to disclose are 1. Defects in the property. True, some sellers choose to disclose everything they know, regardless of if it's in plain sight or not. But other sellers largely choose to hide things from view, hope no one opens the door to the basement, or looks too closely at the walls. Such sellers might consider gluing up cracks, nailing windows closed, and hiding that broken dishwasher with something heavy. The seller's disclosure notice is the seller's opportunity to be honest and forthcoming about a problem. And if the seller chooses not to disclose something, the seller might face serious consequences down the road, like being sued for fraud. Second, Understand that your home has a past. Be as truthful as possible on the disclosure, but you should not disclose speculations. It's important to know and differentiate between facts and speculation. If you have recently fixed an issue, the seller's disclosure notice has a place where you can identify what you did to remediate or repair that matter. Buyers understand that they're getting a house that has been lived in. Therefore, there may be a couple of bruises and blemishes here and there. Most of the time, the buyer just wants to be sure there's no internal bleeding that will make them hemorrhage dollars after buying the property. Third, homeowners who live near a floodplain are almost certain to be asked about seller's flood insurance. The seller must disclose if the house is in a flood zone and if it has flooded, or if any flood insurance claims have been made. In Houston, this is a big concern due to hurricanes and storms that drop a considerable amount of water in a short period of time. Fourth, a seller will have to disclose any inspections that were done in the last 4 years. That means if they decide to sell 3 years later, they would need to note their inspection from when they bought the property and disclose it upon request from a buyer. Fifth, whether any insurance claims have been made by the seller on the property, and if the seller has ever received proceeds from a claim for damage on the property and not used it to make the necessary repairs. Thanks so much, guys, for joining me today. If you found this information helpful, please give me a big thumbs up. It will help YouTube suggest it to other people searching for similar information. Also, if you're interested in learning more about buying, selling, or investing in the greater Houston area, or if you're just looking to live your best life in Houston, please click that subscribe button and the little bell below so that you'll be notified next time that I drop a new video. Remember to disclose facts, not speculation. If you have any questions about listing your property and the potential disclosures you will need to make, please feel free to contact me at 281-222-8259 or at erica.parker@exprealty.com. I would love to chat with you about your specific situation. Until next time, bye for now.